Hi, my name is Abby Lee, and I'll be doing my TED Talk on human and sex trafficking. Sex trafficking. When you think of where sex trafficking is truly an issue that impacts women and children on a daily basis, you think of a small Southeast Asian country. That could not be further from the truth. That perception is the largest contributor to the United States sex trafficking industry developing more rapidly than any other trade, with over 50,000 people being trafficked into the United States annually. The human trafficking industry is the second largest criminal enterprise behind narcotics. Sex trafficking has seen a dramatic increase within the past 10 years, and with the increase in the industry comes an increased media presence. Due to the dramatic increase in media coverage on sex trafficking in the past 10 years, local law enforcement has felt more pressure to provide immediate results in the fight against sex and human trafficking. As a result, there were several new laws passed. However, these new laws had minimal impact, and they were an ineffective use of limited resources. During this presentation, I'll be using the terms DMST, which stand for Domestic Minor Sex Trafficking, and the term CSEC, which stands for Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children. The sex trafficking industry in the United States has seen a dramatic increase due to society focusing on solutions that the media will enjoy, but they have minimal effect. Rather than investing their resources in systems and policies that will have long-term and lasting impacts, law enforcement is focusing on solutions that have short-term and immediate results, which garner praise and accolades. Today, I will be discussing 3 temporary solutions that local law enforcement, governments, and people in positions of authority have put in place in order to entertain the media or gain personal praise and accolades. Those 3 solutions being: the women and children being prosecuted rather than the people trafficking them, sex work researchers providing inaccurate information, and various departments using different definitions depending on what would best benefit them at the time. First, I will discuss the trafficked being prosecuted. An article written by Angela Duger called Focusing on Prevention, the Social and Economic Rights of Children Vulnerable to Sex Trafficking provides critiques on the current approach to CSEC in the United States, the current prevention methods of CSEC internationally, and the social and economic rights of the women and children being trafficked. Duger includes detailed information and critiques on how minors are being thrown into the juvenile justice system rather than the people trafficking them being punished. They are being labeled as juvenile offenders involved in prostitution since their bodies were the ones being exchanged for money, despite the fact that they are being forced and or threatened. In another article written by Severin Carroll, they explain how the children and women who were being trafficked were detained after they were extracted from their traffic circles. After being detained, they are more often than not convicted of prostitution, including the juveniles who were involved. In some cases, these women and children end up with more harsh and longer sentences than the traffickers themselves. While that in itself is a large problem, it also leads the people being trafficked to believe they're the source of the problem, leaving them with not only physical but emotional scars they will never be able to recover from. The law enforcement officers do this so they can close open cases and have a set victim in that specific case. Secondly, the sex work researchers providing faulty information. The Washington Post recently published an article about how most statistics on sex trafficking will be completely skewed for multiple reasons. One of the most important being that sex work researchers hardly ever provide unbiased opinions. The facts that they present are simply their thoughts, not solid, proven fact. As sex trafficking has gained momentum in the media recently, there has been more pressure for new and updated statistics, new legislations to be passed, and an overall pressure for a more active fight against the sex and human trafficking industry. Due to this pressure, sex work researchers do not take the time to do proper research and contact previous victims. This article brings to the reader's attention that in order to feed society's sudden interest in sex trafficking, sex work researchers and law enforcement officers are putting their resources where the public can see them being used, not necessarily where they are doing the most beneficial work, drawing positive media attention. Lastly, various departments using different definitions to quickly close a case. In her scholarly journal article, Jennifer Musto states that the U.S. State Department estimates that about 14,500 to 17,500 people are trafficked into the United States every year. However, if you now include DMST and CSEC cases, the number could jump to 100,000 to 3 million, showing how inaccurate and inconsistent the statistics could be simply because they chose to use a different definition for the same term, sex trafficking. A slight difference of opinion regarding a definition could drastically alter the statistics used to save thousands of women and children throughout the United States and the world, including in and around your home. In order to close a case or play the statistics in their favor, the local law enforcement officers will pick and choose when they want to use certain definitions based on what best fits that specific case. Doing so allows them to close cases more quickly and cleanly, gaining positive media attention. In conclusion, the issue of sex trafficking is by no means decreasing in its urgency. However, I do believe it is crucial that men and women in positions of authority begin using their power to implement laws, systems, and policies that will have long-term and lasting impacts on the fight against human and sex trafficking, even though it may not have immediate and visible results. With better laws and systems, law enforcement will be able to more effectively prosecute the traffickers while providing assistance to those who have been trafficked instead of prosecuting them. In addition, the sex work researchers will be better equipped and educated to provide accurate data that can be used for statistics in future studies on human and sex trafficking. Finally, with proper and agreed upon definitions, we can have a more accurate picture of the extent and magnitude of the human and sex trafficking problems in the United States and use these reforms to fix this problem in other countries. With all of these new ideas at the forefront of our minds, our society should support law enforcement in the decisions they make, whether we are able to clearly and immediately see results or not. We should not be feeding into the media, waiting for an accident like this to happen so we can have an interesting news report. Although it will take years, many new laws, and extensive resources, we should continue to support and encourage the people with the resources and ability to truly make a lasting impact in the human and sex trafficking industries.